All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, everybody. We are continuing our series on the mindset gap. We are in episode 6 of 6, so we're winding down this series. I think this is probably the one of most interest to me personally, for a number of reasons that we'll talk about over the episode. But we really want to chat about reframing adversity as one of your biggest competitive strengths, and especially why it's important in real estate. We're going to kind of talk through the definition of fixed versus growth mindset, uh, why it becomes obvious and it becomes easily exposed in a shifting market, the reasons why typically fixed mindset responses seem logical, but can definitely not be helpful and potentially even hurtful. We're going to talk about how to reframe things with the growth mindset and the importance of doing that. And as always, one of my favorite things to do is talk about the practical application of doing these very things, the day to day, immediate action that we can implement to become better. We're going to do that with Dr. Roger Hall. He is a business psychologist, an executive coach, award winning author, a public speaker. And I just referenced the neuro nerd side of things, how it is that our brains work and how to make them work better. So with that, we'll bring in Dr. Hall. How you doing today?
I'm doing quite well. Grateful to be here.
Yeah, this one will be a fun one, I think. You mentioned a couple things before the episode that kind of shed some even further light on this topic,
Sure.
and I'm super excited to share that with our audience because I think there'll be some good, revelations to be had here. So, with that, let me do a couple of small housekeeping items here, real quick. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Jerod Lee. I'm the associate broker and team lead at My Home Connection, sometimes referred to as MHC Realty. Our sponsor for today is the Perfect Real Estate Business. We're just simply trying to address psychology of real estate success. No small task, but we're going to take our best attempt at it in the way of business coaching, life coaching, mentoring, training, a lot of the things that we don't quite see immediately apparent in real estate teams, real estate brokerages, and then, of course, the things that you would expect in that environment with lead generation, expenses, cost options, things like that. So, with that, let's bring Dr. Hall back on and talk a little bit about um, just the effort, or I guess I'd say the natural inclination to have that fixed mindset. Like, why do our brains? Well, actually, let's back up a little bit. What is the definition of
Yeah,
fixed versus growth?
we should probably define that. So in her book Mindset, Carol Dweck, Dweck, um, coined these two terms, and she contrasts in her book Mindset the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. We can talk about what I think those are correlated to in a little bit, but essentially a fixed mindset is um, a lifelong consistent, maybe it doesn't have to be lifelong, but a consistent long-term pattern of thinking that says, like Popeye, I am what I am and that's all that I am. That I am good or bad at a thing, and that's a static quantity.
Mm,
That's going to stay that way. I'm good or bad at math. I'm good or bad at interacting with people. I'm good or bad at whatever.
yep.
And I'm stuck there. That's just the way it is.
Yep.
And I'm going to think about things in that solid, stable way.
Fixed.
That's it's fixed. It's fairly comforting to look at because it doesn't require any effort or any change. It's just that's what I am. A growth mindset um, is different in that it says I am able to grow, change, learn, and adapt.
Mhm.
And I mean the distinct advantage we have is that as human beings, we're biological entities that grow, change, learn, and adapt. That's the essential nature of plants. Even I mean, they grow, change, learn, adapt. Uh, Animals, every living being does those things, and so we're built for that. We're built to grow, change, learn, and adapt. The fixed mindset, though, is very comforting because it requires no extra effort. And if you've heard me ever talk before, we know that learning, changing your brain, changing the way you think is an effortful, calorically taxing process. Your brain is burning calories.
Mm-hmm.
So in much the same way that people don't like to get on the treadmill, lots of people don't like to get on the thinking mill. They don't want to think things through because it's effortful.
You're literally
So
conserving energy.
oh, absolutely, we're all conserving energy, which is why we have habits. We have habits because they conserve our cognitive fuel. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean that literally.
Mm-hmm.
That the fuel that our brain burns, which is oxygen and glucose, and depending on your diet and your metabolic flexibility, ketones. But it burns this fuel, and it requires effort. It requires calories, and so we would much in stasis um, in the parasympathetic, the rest, digest, repair mode, we want to recover. And there are some people who want to live in the
Mm-hmm.
parasympathetic nervous system all the time, where all they do is rest, digest, and recover and repair, as opposed to the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight, flight, faint, or freeze system, which is where you're adapting to and reacting to a change.
Mm-hmm.
So, so there's a lot of metabolic short-term metabolic advantage to not thinking, not changing, and just going with stasis. And frankly, there are times when that's okay, but human beings are built for that adaptation: learn, grow, adapt, change.
So is it really a psychological thing or a preferential stasis of conserving energy? Or is it whatever you feed is what you're inclined to do? If you feed the I want to be comfortable and conserve, then I'm going to do that all the time. Versus if I shift to a growth mindset, that's my natural inclination. I do understand at some point I have to conserve and rest, but for the most
Sure.
part, I'm moving forward. So is it
So
a
so
preference?
I, I think it's a preference, but like anything, the longer you do a habit, the longer it becomes ingrained, and the more difficult it is to change. I think there are some metabolic differences in people, that some have more go juice. They're out there. They have more initiative. Some of that I think is just frankly metabolic. Um, but you can learn and practice that even if your mitochondrial function is not as hot.
Well, you've mentioned some people kind of have that go juice, or there's a number of ways to address that.
Yeah.
And is that inherent, or can I push back a little bit and say, if you have an awareness that you have an inclination to go one way or another, naturally, probably the conservative route, the fixed mindset, because it's easier. But once people have an awareness and then they find a why or a purpose behind that to motivate them, can they become the person that is
Oh
is
yeah.
self motivated, has that
Yeah. Oh,
inclination?
absolutely. But you have to practice it first.
Right.
With anything that's worth doing, it's hard before it gets easy. It's hard before it's pleasurable. So it's really suffering through a series of calorically intense periods, metabolically intense, cognitively intense periods, and if we're talking physical things, physically intense periods. But yes, you can change your set point. Well, you can modify your set point.
Hmm.
Um, um, we're all probably hardwired with a set point, but we can inch it along up to a certain point.
Hmm.
Let's look at let's look at dog breeds, right? If you know anything about dogs, you get a terrier, a little
They're
Jack
always
Russell
on the go.
Terrier. They're always on the go.
Yeah.
That's just part of the breed, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm trying to think of a contrast. A bulldog. I mean,
Bulldog,
all
he's
it does
not
is
going anywhere.
he's not going that fast. I mean, there's a lot of snoring and a lot of sleeping with bulldogs, so they're metabolically different. But you can calm down a Jack Russell Terrier, and you can get a bulldog activated,
Hmm.
but it depends on the habits that you do. So it really all depends on what you're trying, what your end goal is. So two people are born with different basic temperaments, but you can turn them into something else through practice and rehearsal.
Well, I like what you said earlier about the habits that you have. And I don't think you used lifestyle, but basically your habits are going to become and beget your day-to-day activity. And once it's a habit and it's muscle memory and you're doing it, there's less caloric draw because it's something you do kind of subconsciously, right? I'm now a walker. I walk. I used to have to
Yeah,
expend a lot of energy. What shoes am I going to wear? How long am I going to walk? What am I going to do if the weather changes? I mean, there was all kinds of things that I look back now and go, man, that was exhausting just thinking about how to become a walker. And now I just
right.
walk.
Now you just
So,
do it, right? So
yeah.
so what you've done is you've shown that you can have a growth mindset even with a physical activity. If you say, "Well, I'm not a walker. I don't like to walk." Okay, well, guess what? You never are.
Right.
You're never going to try. But
Yeah.
if you have a growth mindset which says, "I'm not a walker now, but I could become one," so let me learn what I need to do, you know um, which is hard, and it's calorically demanding, and I'm going to do it, and then eventually it becomes a habit, and doing the habit becomes easier than not doing the habit.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, I think I had the two bullet points mixed here. What is fixed versus growth? So we talked about that, but I
Yep.
definitely want to get into this idea that reframing adversity, right? So, um, how do things are going to change, things are going to get difficult. And we talked about what fixed mindset is. Well, actually, let's take it another step deeper in the fixed mindset. We talked briefly before the episode is the things that are going on that are making my life difficult are external forces out of my control. So generally, I'm going to wait around until they change or maybe even possibly complain about it, which
Yes.
is fixed. And growth is the opposite of that. It's like, hey, whatever's going on, I'm going to adjust and adapt. Is
Yes.
that fair?
And in Carol Dweck's theory, there's a great deal of overlap with a related concept of internal or external locus of control. External locus of control is I'm at I'm at the uh, I'm at the mercy of external factors, like, oh, it's the economy, oh, it's
Interest
it's
rate.
it's interest rates, it's
Yep.
climate, I there's nothing I can do. I'll just sit in my corner and wait for the earth to explode. Okay. Oh,
You can do that.
you can do that. So that's an external locus of control. An internal locus of control is, there are a lot of things I don't control, but I can control my attitude and my effort, my thoughts and my work. That's what I can. That's what I can control. And so I don't care what the economy looks like. I don't care what the interest rates look like. I'm going to do my part. Yeah, I in real estate, I can't control the interest rates. I can't control housing starts. I don't control any of that, but I control. Do I get up in the morning and do I do my work?
Yeah.
And do I go out and try to infect people with happiness and attract people to me because of the way I am? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
those are all under your control.
It's interesting you say that because I almost look at the people that get into our industry during the great times as a curse because they
Oh,
believe
absolutely.
this is how it's going to work. If they came in during COVID, offers are flying around, everybody's buying, and as long as you know how to compete, you're gonna do really well. And then when the market shifts and it gets tougher, your weaknesses get exposed, right? Things you did kind of half-ass, things that you didn't do at all. And now it's like, oh, this is difficult. It's like, well, is it difficult, or are you just, again, having that fixed mindset, blaming other things and not willing to adjust, right? Because adversity is not an if, it's a win, and how extreme
Oh,
the adversity is. And
is
then,
right. And if you don't have any experience dealing with adversity, you're going to fall apart when adversity comes. And adversity always comes.
always,
Let's use this analogy. Let's say you're a little kid and your grandfather is a surfer, and you get on the surfboard with him, and your grandfather paddles out past all these waves, gets you on the surfboard, and he takes you on the board into shore. It is exhilarating.
yeah,
But what didn't you do that whole time?
work.
You didn't do any work. You didn't do any paddling. You let grandpa do the paddling.
Woohoo! This is great.
Woo-hoo. Yeah. I mean, so what you think is, oh, surfing is going out and catching the wave, and the wave, the energy of the wave is going to bring you in. What you fail to see is that grandpa did all the paddling to get out beyond the waves. He did
Yeah,
all the work. And that's why adversity is necessary, because anybody can get carried in on a wave. Good time.
yep.
If you catch the wave right, if somebody
This
drops
is
you out
great.
there and you don't have to paddle, you don't have to kick, great. How wonderful is that? But then when real life comes, you realize, oh, this is hard.
Yeah, it was hard to stand up. I got crashed. I hit the reef. I got
Yeah.
scratched up. And okay,
Yeah.
so then what do you do? Ah, this sucks. I'm not going to do it anymore.
I'm not going to do that. Right.
Or
Right.
get up and go back at it again and avoid the reef and avoid the, or get your balance up, get better, improve. So when yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do to improve.
But you have to recognize that adversity is part of it. Anybody can catch a wave. It
Yeah.
you know, but getting out to the point where you can catch the wave, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's what I wanted to address is you, you as an agent getting exposed for your flaws and your shortcomings, your weaknesses, your lack of, growth mindset, your lack of perseverance, your discipline, like all of that gets exposed.
Yep.
And some people don't want to get exposed and then they just bounce and try to figure out something different.
Right. Um,
So,
the military during the the Desert Storm, and the global war on terror, a lot of the soldiers used to say, "Embrace the suck,"
mhm.
because a lot of that did suck. So just embrace it and recognize that the suck will be good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a matter of which suck do you want? I think is maybe a good analogy. We were talking before the show. This machine behind me. I've got to do resistance training. I got to build my core. I got to build muscle because in 20 years from now, if I don't do that, my life's going to suck. I'm going to
Right. Right.
maybe fall over. I'm not going to play as well with my grandkids, or I mean insert thing that I can't do, or I can spend 3 or 4 days a week on that machine sucking because not many
Yeah. I mean,
people.
it's not fun. I
Right.
mean, well, let me rephrase that, because I really do want to rephrase that for people who have difficulty with exercise. The lie people tell us is that exercise sucks. No, the truth is the first 5 minutes of exercise sucks.
Right.
By about minute 6 or 7, it's not so bad. But the first 5 minutes, they all suck.
Yeah.
But that's the hurdle you need to get over in order to get any benefit.
Yeah. What's interesting, and hopefully this is on topic, and there's a point here, but the one thing I've noticed about m- resistance training is specifically with your legs. Like leg day just sucks more than any other day. But they're also finding a correlation between the amount of muscle mass in your lower body with longevity. So the thing that sucks the most has the best long-term results.
Right.
And that I don't know if that's a good analogy, but maybe that fits somewhere in the psychology side of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that the thing that we dislike the most is probably going to give us the greatest benefit. When you're a kid and your mom wants you to eat Brussels sprouts, you don't want to eat Brussels sprouts and broccoli. You want to have chocolate cake. Um, but Brussels sprouts and broccoli are going to be good for you long term.
Mm, interesting. Interesting. Well, let's talk about this idea that why fixed mindset rationale seems to make sense. Is it just because we're 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 literally rationalizing it and convincing us that, oh, the interest rates suck right now, oh, there's a war going on right now, oh, the stock market is struggling, like insert excuse here? Is that what we're doing psychologically, is just
Yes, yes. One of my shorthands is that human beings are not rational creatures; they're rationalizing creatures.
oh wow, that's
I mean,
powerful.
we lie to ourselves all the time. We think we're rational, but we're really telling ourselves lies to keep us doing the things that keep us in stasis, keep us in that fixed spot.
Mm, yeah, love it.
Oh, why even bother? Because there's a war going on.
Yeah,
Well, if you look back at past wars, people made money in all those past wars too.
yeah.
To me, one of the epiphanies I had was people said, "Well, it was the Depression. Nobody made money in the Depression." It's like, no, I think some people, maybe not as many,
Absolutely.
but some people figured it out.
Far
Okay,
fewer.
so a lot fewer, and not in the traditional ways, but some people figured out how to make a mint during the Depression.
Yeah.
Okay, so it isn't the Depression. It's not the external factors. It's how do I adapt to these external factors?
Yeah. Actually, so that's a great segue into the next uh, bullet point item, is this growth mindset, adversity, competitive, what's the word I'm looking for? Advantage. if
Yeah,
if you become the smallest percentage of the population that can look at adversity as a challenge you've got to rise to and overcome, what, in your rough estimation, if you can give one, do you think the percentage of population that can have that mental fortitude to say, I don't care how tough things are getting, I'm going to be the one that does make it in a tough situation? Do you think it's a 1% thing? Do you think it's a
no, I think
5%?
it's probably more than that. It's probably 10 or
10?
15%.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
But a small percentage of the population can actually reframe a bad, a potentially negative appearing situation, and figure out a plan, a way to overcome it.
yeah. I mean, I encourage people, just for an afternoon entertainment, spend an afternoon at the DMV and just
Out.
watch the people.
Yeah.
And what you'll realize is, oh my gosh, these are the people who are able to get a driver's license. There are some people who are not even able to get a driver's license, and this is what I'm dealing with. Okay, so then you realize society is really, it's back to the Pareto principle. 80-20, that 20% of the outcome is due to, or 80% of the outcome is due to 20% of the inputs or the people.
Yeah.
And the other 20% is made up by the other 80% of the people. And you realize, oh, okay, there's really something there. And I would say it's somewhere more like 10-90. Um,
Interesting. Yeah.
so I mean, just go look around.
Yeah.
Just go to the DMV in a number of different locations in your city, and you'll realize, wow, a lot of these people, they just don't have the tools. Okay, so that life is hard for them because they
Yeah.
just don't have the cognitive tools. They don't have the they certainly don't have the mindset tools. So they're going to suffer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's speak to the 10% that can, or some percentage that want to, right? This is where the rubber meets the road, is, and you
Yeah.
mentioned the tools. What are they doing on a day-to-day basis? Are they building habits? Are they monitoring their thoughts? Are they, all the above? Or like,
all,
what?
all of the above.
Okay.
I mean, the first part though is it is mental discipline. It is the ability to look at your thoughts and self-regulate. So we've talked about emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-control. Those are the two basic skills for yourself. You have to know what's going on in your head, and you have to manage it. You have to control it. And if you can't direct your own thinking to a better way, shift your mindset, then you'll always be at the mercy of what other people are telling you should be thinking.
Yeah, let's dig into that a little bit more because we've talked about it in the past, and it makes sense in a longer conversation. But for the folks that really want to know how this works, your uh, uh, your scenario or your suggestion of the experience of dipping a ladle in your stream of consciousness multiple times over the course of the day, over the course of the week, and say, what does that look like? What is going through my stream of consciousness? Is it good? Is it bad? If it's bad, could it be better? If it's good, could it be even better yet? Um, so these folks are analyzing on a maybe not moment by moment, but every so often basis, where am I inclined to go with my thoughts? And is that helpful? And if it's not, how do I change that? Right? That's the stop, replace.
It- yeah. And one of those things is that I can change those thoughts.
I think that's
N-
the
not
critical, an
not
awareness that you
yeah
can.
not just how, but that it is possible to change those thoughts. But it requires observation, self control, and then experimentation. So you have, you're observing a negative thought, you replace it with a more productive thought, and then you observe how does that make you feel. And that's an important thing, is to realize, oh yeah, I do feel better when I think this way.
Now that's a neuroplasticity thing, right? You've got how your brain is wired and how your electricity pulse or whatever go from one area to another, and you're rewiring that. Correct? I mean, is
Oh,
that?
absolutely. Yeah. And one of the unfortunate things is people ask, is this biological or is it psychological? And the answer is yes. That psychology does change biology, and biology does change psychology.
Well, I like the idea, for me anyway, that if it's biological, then it seems more attainable. Like I can reprogram my brain because the wiring, the software, however you want to look at it, can be rewritten in a way that reroutes the trenches or what do they call that in the brain? That the
The
neural
neurons,
pathways,
the
yeah, the
neural
neurons,
pathways. Yeah.
they get
Yeah.
reprogrammed. So, an awareness that you can at a biological level. And then, by the way, once you've done that, it's much easier to do because now you think totally different than you used to. It doesn't happen overnight, but from then on out, for the most part, unless you really kind of go off the deep end, you're low on energy or you're doing things you shouldn't do uh, to minimize your focus on that stuff. Anyway, I'm just saying it seems more attainable, successfully attainable when I think of it from a biological level.
But this may be an overly long explanation, but one of the most powerful examples of neuroplasticity is um, outlined in a book called The Brain That Changes Itself. And the author, whose name I can't remember right now, he talks about this technology, that people who have had an injury to their eyes and in adulthood become blind, he can teach to see again.
Wow.
So here's how it works. The eyes are the sense organ, right? Super important, but they're the
Yeah.
sense organ.
Hmm.
What do we see with? Well, actually, we see with the back part of our brain. That's
Mm.
what interprets the data.
Okay.
And what he wondered is, would it be possible to get the ability to use another sense organ and teach your brain to see with that other sense organ?
Mm.
So they created this pin system that, those toys that you put your hand in and there's all those pins, and
Oh yeah.
and you can see the
Hmm.
imprint of your hand.
Uh-huh.
Well, he created one of those that had little activators on each of the pins, and it was connected to a camera, and they strapped it on people's chests, and they threw a ball in front of the camera, and they asked people, what do you see? And they go, eventually, after enough repeats, they said, well, I see a ball. It's
Mm.
like there's something moving. There's is that a ball moving?
Hmm.
And it's because the skin began to pick up the imprint, and they said they saw it.
A
So let's
different
follow
sensor.
up. Right. So then they used what's the part of your body that has the most sense organs? It's your tongue.
Mm.
So they created a a, a a stimulator for your tongue, a tongue stimulator, little electrical stimulations, and it feels like little champagne bubbles. And it on your tongue would create the image,
Hmm.
right? So
Wow.
you'd see the ball, and across your tongue would be this image, right? And people say, "Oh, I see a ball." Well, they hook these people up with these tongue stimulators, give them a pair of sunglasses with a camera right in the middle, and guess what? You can watch these videos on YouTube. These people can walk around town and they can see things in their way using the sense organ of their tongue.
Wow.
And their but here's what's the amazing thing is their brain then adapts. What that teaches us is that if you can teach blind people to see with their tongue,
Yeah.
you can certainly change your mindset
Yeah. Absolutely.
because the biology's all there. There's actually a video of a guy. They give him a ball. There's a trash can in the room. He's blind and he's making baskets using the camera and the tongue system.
Wow.
So this is a little bit of an elaborate story, but the reason I'm telling you this is when people go, "Oh, I just can't change." Well, if you can teach blind people to see with their tongue, then you can change whatever bad habit you have
Yeah. Wow.
because the biology is set up to rewire with the new stimulation.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. Well, let's bring it full circle here. So we're,
Sure.
we're talking about the mindset. Everything kind of starts in the mind, and if we have a fixed mindset that is not helpful, it actually could be extremely hurtful, especially if you're trying to achieve big things. So
Short term, it's very helpful. Long term, no, it's not helpful.
thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So you just communicated we can make that shift, right? You just created a great example of what our brains, what our bodies
Are
can do.
capable of doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a fix versus growth, that should be a no brainer. That should be easy in comparison, but it
In
doesn't.
comparison, it's hard. You got to practice, but
Yeah.
your brain can adapt. It'll rewire for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you do that? And we talked about the practical application of that. And that is be aware that you can, and then do the
Mm-hmm.
things that head in that direction and
Yep.
build habits such that they become, uh, you know, calorically uh, easier to do, and they're just built-in muscle memory habits that beget a better outcome.
The, well, look, I want to give people reality, which is they'll never be as easy as doing nothing, but
Right.
they will become easier. So you're always going to have to overcome a little bit of a hurdle. It's
Yeah.
always going to suck a little bit at the beginning. That's just how it is.
Yeah. But the fixed mindset has a level of suck that's coming down the road that you can't avoid at some point. And it
The
might
suck
be,
is definitely coming later. Yes.
yeah, your financial future sucks, your health, physical health sucks because you didn't do the thing. So
Yeah.
if you want to conserve energy now, you're going to pay some burden later, correct? I mean,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
going to struggle
Absolutely.
in some way, shape, or form. So why not start putting in the effort and energy now to be creating the habits that create the growth mindset so that you handle adversity, you handle difficulty, you overcome, you know, times in our lives that are challenging because they're coming.
They're coming. Yeah, we will always experience adversity, and if we think we can live in a world where adversity doesn't exist, it's just it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's not reality.
Yeah. I love it. I think that's a perfect way to wind things down. But we definitely, as always, want to make sure folks know how to get a hold of you and what resources you have. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, best way to learn about me is go to my website, drrogerhall.com, drrogerhall.com. There you can find out about my books. And you can also find out about my online courses. You can see links to my YouTube site. You can follow me on all the social media platforms and learn more about my work.
We've got a quiz that folks could take.
Yep, there's a couple quizzes, the Worryometer and the Freak Out quiz. to help you understand your relationship to anxiety.
Awesome. All really good resources. But as always, we just really want to thank you for coming on and sharing, how the brain works or doesn't work, I guess, in some cases, and giving us real world application of how to implement the things that you suggest. So it's much appreciated.
Always fun. Always glad to be working with you, Jerod.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Other than that, we'll just wish everybody a blessed one. Take care.